Rob, for I guess the obvious question, you had pretty good job security at Richmond,
Yeah.
been on Mooney staff for 17 years. What would lead, was it a place like this that ultimately led you to want to leave that job security and come here and help build this foundation?
No question. Yeah, this is a special place all the way around, surrounded by so many special people. Coach McKay, as we had talked through things, and he had told me just how unique the environment and the culture here is. I was excited and thought I had a good idea of what it was going to be like. And over the past 48 hours, I've been blown away with the people at every turn. So welcoming, from everything from the players, from administration to you guys. Everything has been terrific.
I know you've been zeroed in on UR the last 17 years or so, but
Yeah.
how much do you know about Liberty, its basketball program? How closely have you followed it over the past few years?
Yeah, over the past few years, I've gotten to know Coach McKay very well, and so I have spent more and more time watching film and looking at them, especially in the off season, in a time where you're trying to study and learn. So I am pretty familiar with the team, and I actually had a chance to come out last year before the foreign trip and had a chance to watch practice, and so I am familiar with the guys, and they have been extremely welcoming. The first day, I was really taken back by just how kind everybody was and their sincerity of welcoming me into the program.
Spending such a long time at one place, how difficult was it, to tell your boss and your coaching staff and players or whoever
Yeah.
else that you were leaving?
Incredibly hard, and I say that with all sincerity. 17 amazing years, and not just great experiences. I mean, it was transformational for me personally, professionally, every way around, but relationally. There were so many people over a 17-year period that I needed to say thank you to. And Coach McKay was terrific about giving me a little bit of time to be able to take care of things and be able to finish everything well. Coach Mooney was unbelievably supportive in the decision. We had several very emotional conversations, but he was nothing but supportive and encouraging to me. And this is a fit. This is a really good fit for me and who I desire to be, both professionally and personally. So to answer the original question of how difficult, unbelievably hard. To leave so many people in a place that we loved so dearly, but feel like this is an incredible fit in what we're coming into. So tears of sadness and in so many relationships that were just special, but also such excitement coming into this opportunity.
Do you feel like coming to a new place after being in one spot for so long, is it kind of a rejuvenating feeling? I mean, I know you've only been here a few days, but do you feel like you're starting over after being in one place for so long?
Yeah.
Does that kind of give you an extra level of energy, maybe, just coming into a new situation like this?
Yeah, I love to work, and that's kind of my nature, is just to, all right, let's do it better, let's do it harder, let's do it again. And being in an environment where everything is new creates so many different challenges. But yes, there's an excitement to get to work and to do it. There's also this is new. This is, everything's changed. I'm a man of routine, and so there are some things that are quite frankly are overwhelming, and there are other things that I'm so excited to be a part of and to get my hands on and kind of dig in. So a little bit of both.
Richmond's a smaller school in terms of
Yes.
student body size, which I would presume makes it challenging. And then Liberty, obviously, bigger school, but there's the faith-based component, so
Yeah.
it's a different challenge. How did being at a school with its own unique setup like Richmond, how do you think that prepares you for Liberty with its,
Yeah.
it's not the same, but also having a unique setup?
Yeah. Both places are extremely special and have a niche. And so much in recruiting comes back to being able to filter. You can't recruit the entire country. So you have to find what your niche is and what sets you apart from everybody else. What is going to be the best fit for that young man and his family. And so the niche is a little bit different, but the filtering system will be very similar. The school size, that was something that the very first day I thought, the number of facilities, the number of people, I mean, it's, Richmond's about 3,000 students, and then, now we're looking at 15,000 plus, and so it is very different. The size of the campus is different, both beautiful in so many ways. So there's a lot of great pieces to be able to attract student athletes to come, But yeah, there are probably more similarities than you might think, but there certainly are great differences on both ends.
How much of your focus is the coaching, the hands-on, the X's and O's? How much of it is, I would say, recruiting? I guess now player procurement, since it comes from so many different ways.
Yeah, well, it's all encompassing. I mean, the entire package of what coaching is not just on the court, not just recruiting. And I think that was the desire of Coach McKay was to have a full, have a staff of well-rounded coaches that can support each other and support the program in that fashion. So that's a total package deal, and I'm excited about what that means, in terms of the types of players, the types of student athletes, the faith-based component of it. Those are all things that are very exciting to me, and they're at the core of my heart and my passion as well.
What were those conversations like with Richie when he called you to see if you were interested in the job, of how that conversation led to another, finding out Liberty is going to be a fit for me that will take me 2 hours from Richmond to Lynchburg?
Yeah. I had suspicions that a faith-based school and in this type of environment was always very attractive to me. I went to a small Christian college, and so that was an atmosphere that was appealing to me. Did I think that that's where I would be? If you'd have asked me 12 months ago, I would have said no. I don't think that's where I'm going to be at that time. As I started to have conversations with Coach McKay, and we started to kind of dig into the layers of it and what some of his desired needs were for the program, and maybe some of my professional desires as well, and started to realize the alignment between the two. As I had mentioned before, over the past couple of years, I've spent a lot more time getting to know Coach, not just from a basketball tactical standpoint. I've known him professionally for many years. Over the past probably 3 years or so, we've spent more time having real conversations, and it would go anything from leadership and team development to faith-based questions. Like it was across the board. And as that relationship grew and developed, it made those conversations about desires and needs, it made it evident to me what a great fit that it was going to be for me.
Were those conversations at like NABC conventions and stuff like that, or is it just because of how close Liberty and Richmond are, you just happen to meet up on
A lot of phone calls. So during COVID, it was probably once a week or so that I would call him and I would say, Coach, I just got a few questions for you if you got a few minutes. And he was awesome. He was great, and he would humor me and answer my questions, and then he had a few more questions from me. And so we were kind of bouncing back and forth. We would talk offense, defense, and like I said, inevitably it would go off the basketball train pretty quickly, and we would, next thing you know, we're talking we're talking theology. So it was wonderful, but that was kind of the root of it. When we would see each other on the road, we would spend time, we'd sit together and watch a game and to talk. A lot of times on the recruiting circuit, you end up at major events in places. And so there were several times we were on the same flight going to a different city. So we were able to, anytime we saw each other, we were able to kind of spend a little bit of time and talk.
Coach McKay talks frequently about how for players, how difficult it is to learn the pack line system, and how every year they're in it, they get that much better. How familiar are you with that system, and are you finding the same type of difficulty trying to learn it at this point in time?
Yeah, so a few years ago when I started peppering him with questions, it was about the pack line. So several years back at Richmond, we had made a transition from playing primarily a matchup zone and moving into a man-to-man based defense. And so I had spent a lot of time talking with him and some guys that had worked for him over the years. A good friend of mine, Vic Safera, who's now down at Charlotte, spent a lot of time with me, helping me kind of learn some of the details. Coach Bennett and his staff at Virginia has been very kind and open to me as well. So I was able to go in and watch practices and workouts at kind of all of those places and develop a lot of good friendships along the way. So that's kind of my story in basketball, has been relationally the desire to learn something, to learn a system, to learn a way of playing, and the relationships that built off of that have really changed my life. So that started years ago when I was a high school basketball coach before I ever got into college basketball coaching, and that was the Princeton offense, and that's kind of how I was introduced to Chris Mooney, and then how our relationship started and developed. And so now it's kind of interesting. Now it's a different relationship and a different philosophy and a different style that has now taken my life in a different path.